This video is brought to you by NetEase Games and Onmyoji. Be sure to check out their Inuyasha event by clicking the link in the description below, and please be sure to check out the end of the video too, guys. We got some big announcements to make, including a brand new show. Hey everyone, Gaijin Goombah here, and welcome back to Culture Shock. We break down your favorite games and anime and discover the culture that inspired them. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, after doing that Afro Samurai video a couple weeks back, I've really been wanting to dig into the cultural origins of other nostalgic anime from my childhood, with one in particular really recapturing my interest. Rumiko Takahashi's action romance old school isekai classic, Inuyasha. The story of Kagome, a 15-year-old girl who stumbled back in time to Japan's feudal era besieged by the ultimate demonic evil. And with the help of a colorful entourage of yokai, monks, and demon slayers, the crew seeks out the ultimate powered MacGuffin, the Shikon Jewel. Not exactly the most nuanced plot, but 19 years later, I still love it. What?
You sure this isn't just because Onmyoji is bringing back 3 of the series' main cast as playable characters and you're being sponsored to talk about it?
I actually like to think of it more as ironic fate, to be honest. Because, yeah, I think it's really freaking cool that Inuyasha, Kikyo, and Sesshomaru are making an appearance in a game that I still love to play, but ever since Inuyasha made its way into Netflix and Hulu, I've been digging back into it with fresh perspective. I was 16 when it first released back in 2000, and at that time, all I really cared about was the high-powered action and style. But now, having since established my adult self as a Japanese cultural researcher 20 years later, I've fallen in love with the series all over again. So much so that I even dusted off my old PS2 copy of The Secret of the Curse Master Stream over on Twitch, with mixed results. Oh! Whoa! Whoa, buddy!
So what exactly was it that got you rehooked on the series?
Honestly, the folklore monster aesthetic. Back when I was 16, I didn't care what the heck Inuyasha's gang was fighting, I just loved the action and the intrigue. But as someone who's been breaking down cultural influences from games and anime for over 6 years now, so much has sprung out at me as I revisit the series, particularly the characters and their relationship with Japanese yokai monsters.
Well, a handful of cases are absolute no-brainers, like the bratty Kitsune Shippo and the cowardly Tanuki Hachiemon. But most of the other characters in the show don't really have a lot of one-to-one connections with traditional monsters. I don't exactly recall any stories about half-human, half-dog yokai. In fact, with the exception of Abe no Seme, Hanyo, or half-human, half-yokai, didn't even exist in folklore.
Ah, but that's where the magic of the series lies. Rumiko Takahashi didn't go the easy route by rounding up some characters and giving them yokai namesakes, but rather, I think she was inspired by the concepts of these monsters to forge brand new identities, with Inuyasha and Sesshomaru being great examples of this. Though not directly connected to it, these two characters are heavily influenced by the yokai known as the inugami, or literally dog spirit. Not simply because they're all canines, but because of the base foundation of what inugami were in Japan's ancient times and what Inuyasha and Sesshomaru's lineages had been born from. So a little backstory in the anime. Inuyasha and Sesshomaru were born from an overwhelmingly powerful dog yokai known as Inu no Taisho, the Great Dog General. Though his power was great and his true form was a sight to behold, he was at heart a defender of men. Sesshomaru himself said,
偉大なる父上の力 人間に対する慈悲などという心は私は受け継がなかった。
In fact, according to the anime's interpretation of history, Inu no Taisho was the one who led Japan's army against the Mongol invasion of 1274, a true-life event that could have wiped Japan off the map. The anime paints him as having a fondness for humanity and actively defending them through their troubles, extending that protection and even love to a human woman, Izayoi, who birthed his second son Inuyasha. In fact, so great was his love for Izayoi and Inuyasha that he perished trying to protect the two from Izayoi's estranged lord.
As for Inuyasha himself, he's a brash, thick-skulled youth to be certain. However, as the 7 seasons of the show progressed, Inuyasha understood more and more his father's love of humans and the desire to protect them. Falling in love with the human priestess Kikyo just as his father fell for Izayoi, then finding an even greater devotion to the protection of her reincarnation, Kagome, who had been transported from the modern era to the Sengoku Jidai after falling into the Bone Eater's well. Just like his father before him who seemingly devoted his life to protect humans, over the course of the series, Inuyasha transformed from a self-serving brat bent on becoming a full-blooded yokai to the unwavering protector of Kagome and by extension humanity. In fact, it was his developing compassion for mankind itself that allowed him to wield his father's heirloom sword, the Tessaiga, at full power. the sword that Sesshomaru desperately coveted.
TLDR, the entire point of Inuyasha and Inu no Taisho's character arc and their overarching theme is the protection and loving of humans, with Kagome and Izayoi acting as the center support for Inuyasha and Taisho. Now let's put all of that aside for a moment and bring in the cultural variable into this equation, the Inugami. Inugami were spirits of dogs who became familiars to the families that created them, known to the public as Inugami Mochi, or literally havers of Inugami. Once created and in service, Inugami were believed to serve the family in all manner of ways, from protecting them from harm, to bringing them good fortune and luck, to even possessing enemies of the family. And in that last case, targets of the Inugami's possession would feel pains in their chests and hands, develop paranoias and jealousies, and eventually die as mysterious bite marks would form on their corpse. Despite their methods though, Inugami were as loyal to their families and caretakers as any other faithful dog in life. And when the guardian of the Inugami had died, it would serve and protect the next human master in succession. At this point, the parallels should be undeniably clear. Just as Inuyasha and his father Inu no Taisho became devoted to the protection of humans that they cherished, so too did the dog yokai Inugami serve and protect their human masters. In fact, to get more specific, in Inuyasha's case, he had gone from being the protector of Kikyo to the protector of her reincarnation, Kagome, just as Inugami would continue to protect multiple generations of the same family. Though the specifics are different, such as the case of Inu no Taisho and Inuyasha being human protectorates on their own terms, they still heavily mirror the Inugami protective nature that I believe Takahashi took inspiration from.
Well, that's not the only thing that Takahashi takes with Inugami. I'll warn you guys right now, if you're an avid dog lover, you might want to brace yourself, because looking at this from the other side of the coin could be really upsetting, mainly due to just how Inugami are created. See, Inugami didn't just come into being, nor were they simply the ghosts of dogs who love their human masters so dearly after their death that they serve them an unlife. No, Inugami creation, as history knows it, is a very dark and gruesome Onmyodo ritual of the Heian period that was strictly forbidden, as the use of spirit animals like Inugami and pipe foxes called Kuragitsune were outlawed. But that sure didn't stop people from seeking supernatural power.
Once the transformation was complete, the individuals who created the Inugami would then turn face and treat the dog spirit as family, paying homage to the Inugami as the spirit protected them.
But you better believe that there were a lot more than a few dogs who weren't gonna take this abuse lying down. If the ritual was done incorrectly or the human mistreated the Inugami, the spirit of the dog would come to hate humanity and haunt them at best, or slaughter them at worst. As they were born as Onryo, Inugami had an extreme wrathful side to them that, if not kept in check, like a living dog who was abused, it would turn on not just its master, but all of humanity and treat them as prey, completely driven by disdain.
And this brings us to the other half of Inuyasha's family, his yokai stepmother Inukimi and his half-brother Sesshomaru. Where Inuyasha was an impulsive, hot-headed half-yokai with a soft spot for humans like Kikyo and Kagome, Sesshomaru was a cold, collected, stoic, full-blooded yokai who had nothing but contempt for humanity. While he likely developed indifference to humans from his mother, it was his father that was the catalyst for his contempt. Nearing the end of his life, Inu no Taisho was confronted by Sesshomaru, who wanted to possess his father's powerful demonic weapons. To which Taisho's retort was, "half-breed baby, his scorn ran deeper. An unworthy gesture from a mighty yokai like his father to some fragile mortal.
So yeah, starting to get the parallels? Despite the fact that none of these characters suffered the injustice of what Inugami dogs went through to become yokai, the theme of disdain for humanity who are unworthy of protection from these powerful yokai runs deep. Inugami would easily turn on their masters if they were mistreated or weren't receiving offerings. After all, why should they be subservient? Especially to a cruel master. In comparison, Sesshomaru, like a turned Inugami, has not love or compassion for humans, considering them lowly and unworthy of the protection that his father had given them.
But eventually, even the hard-hearted Sesshomaru came around to realize his nature of protecting mortals. What began as a gesture of reluctant kindness to two humans, Rin and Kohaku, apexed in episode 9 of Inuyasha Final Act. Sesshomaru comes in sporadic contact with his mother, Inukimi, who sends Rin and Kohaku into Meido with Sesshomaru in tow. Inukimi curiously calls out Sesshomaru's developed caring for humans, but of course he goes all tsundere about it. However, when it was discovered that Rin could not be saved, Sesshomaru finally understood the pain of loss and his own desire to protect the human that he had taken under him, completing the connection that he, like his brother and father, had with Inugami, the protection of a single human. Kagome to Inuyasha, Izayoi to Taisho, and Rin to Sesshomaru.
All this fuss over a little human girl indeed. I suppose the point remains. Despite the dichotomy of the Inugami, both its protective and wrathful side displayed in Inuyasha and Sesshomaru respectively, the ongoing theme of these powerful dog yokai protecting an individual, Inuyasha to Kagome and Sesshomaru to Rin, still stands. Inugami, dog yokai, are made to protect. The details of the folklore may be absent, but the inspiration of what the Inugami was all about is there.
Exactly, and this is just a taste of some of the amazing folklore I've rediscovered in this series. I mean, for crying out loud, Mistress Centipede, the very first anime yokai in this series, is chock full of yokai folklore. Though I don't have time to cover it in a video, I might talk about it in a future stream over on Twitch. But if you've been enjoying this anime trip down memory lane as much as I have, go check out the Inuyasha event going on over at the game Onmyoji, available on Steam, Android, and iOS. Inuyasha, Sesshomaru, and Kikyo are all coming to the game as summonable and playable characters, which will be available in multiple ways throughout the event week. Plus, there's a brand new slew of skins like the Windscar Wind skin for Inuyasha and the Demonic Aura skin for Sesshomaru. Players also get a one-time 2.5 times boost for SR and SSR rank summons, giving players a greater chance to pull one of the three. Plus, personally speaking, I'd say check out Onmyoji regardless. It's a fantastic game rooted in Japan's Heian period involving huge folklore characters like Abe no Seme, Minamoto no Hiromasa, and Yaobi Kuni. And this game is packed full of traditional Japanese yokai that you can summon and have fight on your behalf. Honestly, it kind of feels like a Heian period Pokemon.
Man, we sure do talk a lot about yokai in this channel. I'm kind of surprised we're not doing a show dedicated to them.
Oh, but that's the thing, my dude. We are. I'm happy to announce everyone that we will be soft launching a brand new show on this channel in April, Yokai Watchers. A series that does, well, pretty much what we've done today. Having a look at some of anime gaming's biggest names like Pokemon, Animal Crossing, Spirited Away, and so on, and breaking down their yokai origins, but more info on that next month. In the meantime, I'm actually going to be flying out to Japan for a few weeks to gather some much needed research materials, images, and other sources of information for the show. So you can expect my next video to go up around the last week of March. And if you'd like an inside scoop on that trip, be sure to follow me on Twitter at Gaijin Goombah. In the meantime though, if you'd like to learn even more about the world we live in through anime and gaming, be sure to check out the rest of Culture Shock and Witch Ninja right here. But until next time everyone, this is Gaijin Goombah, signing out.